P. Diddy, the rise, the fall, and the dark secrets behind the billion-dollar empire. P. Diddy, born Sean Combs, is undeniably one of the most influential figures in music and business. His meteoric rise to fame through Bad Boy Records and launching the careers of stars like the notorious B.I.G. made him a household name. But as we've seen countless times before, behind the glitz and glamour lies a much darker story. One filled with allegations of drugging, sexual abuse, manipulation, murder, and power games that are coming back to haunt him now. How does a man who seemingly had it all, fame, fortune, and control, fall so far? And more importantly, was Diddy ever really in control of his own empire, or was he simply a player in a much larger, more dangerous game? The rise to power and the allegations that followed. Let's start with his rise. From Harlem, New York, P. Diddy fought his way into the music industry, first as an intern, then as the founder of Bad Boy Records. His early career was filled with success, signing artists like the notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls, Maze, and Faith Evans. He crafted hit after hit, but as his fame and power grew, so did the rumors. Diddy was a master of the party scene, and his lifestyle became the very thing that many idolized. But partying wasn't all that was going on behind the scenes. The whispers started early: drugging women, sexual misconduct, controlling behavior, and worse. Over the years, many women have come forward with disturbing allegations, and now we're hearing from even more. One of the most well-known and disturbing relationships in his life was with Cassie, a young woman whose life became intertwined with Diddy's in ways that sound more like a nightmare than a love story. Cassie has spoken about the control Diddy had over her, detailing incidents of physical, emotional, and psychological abuse. One particularly shocking incident was when Diddy beat her up in a hotel hallway and then allegedly paid off the hotel staff to destroy the security footage. How does a man in power get away with this for so long? Money, influence, and fear. But the most disturbing allegations to emerge yet are those from Cassie's lawsuit against Diddy, which detail a level of sadistic behavior that's hard to wrap your head around. According to reports, Diddy allegedly hired male prostitutes to engage in sexual acts with Cassie while he watched. Think about that for a moment. What kind of person needs that kind of power and control over another human being? This isn't just about infidelity or an open relationship. This is something far darker, a twisted game of domination and degradation. This type of behavior, where Diddy allegedly used money and power to manipulate Cassie into these situations, speaks to a deeper pathology. It's not just about sexual gratification. It's about complete control, about breaking someone down psychologically. What does it say about a man who needs to stage these kinds of acts to feel powerful? Diddy didn't just want to own Cassie's body. He wanted to own her mind, soul, and every aspect of her life. This goes far beyond the typical power dynamics we've seen in celebrity relationships. Hiring male prostitutes and orchestrating these situations while forcing Cassie to participate. What kind of mind does that? It raises the question, who is the real Diddy behind the carefully crafted public image? We're seeing a side of him that's far more sinister than we ever imagined. The relationship with Kim Porter. Now let's talk about Kim Porter, the mother of 3 of Diddy's children. Kim was reportedly another victim of his controlling and allegedly abusive nature. Their relationship was on and off for years, but the details that have come out since her death in 2018 have left many wondering just how deep the manipulation ran. There were rumors about a tell-all book that Kim was reportedly writing before her untimely death. Some sources suggest that the book would have detailed Diddy's dark side, including alleged abuse and manipulation both toward her and others in his life. Kim's sudden death from pneumonia has sparked conspiracy theories, with many questioning whether her passing was truly natural or if it was connected to the secrets she was reportedly ready to reveal. Why was she silenced? Was there something more at play here? Tupac and Biggie, the murders that changed hip-hop forever. And then, of course, there's the biggest scandal in hip-hop history, the murders of Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G. For years, it's been rumored that Diddy had a hand in both deaths. Let's break it down. The rivalry between East Coast and West Coast rap was at its peak in the 1990s, and Diddy was at the center of it all. Tupac was shot at Quad Studios in 1994, a pivotal event in the East Coast-West Coast feud. Pac himself believed that Diddy and Biggie were involved in setting him up for the attack. Allegedly, Diddy put out a $1 million hit on Tupac's head. Fast forward to 1996, Tupac is shot and killed in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. Was Diddy involved? While nothing has been proven in court, the rumors persist, and where there's smoke, there's fire. Then, just months later, Biggie Smalls is killed in a similar drive-by shooting in Los Angeles. Many believe Biggie's murder was retaliation for Tupac's death. But what if there's more to the story? Some conspiracy theories suggest that Diddy orchestrated Biggie's death to protect himself. If Biggie was ever going to speak out about what really happened between the East Coast and West Coast, or about Diddy's alleged involvement in Tupac's death, Diddy would have every reason to silence him. Again, no concrete evidence has surfaced to prove this, but the fact that these rumors have persisted for decades speaks volumes. Why did no one ever go to jail for either of these murders? Why did the truth never come out? Too many powerful people were involved. The higher powers at play, too big to fall. Diddy didn't just rise through the music industry. He became a global brand, venturing into fashion, film, television, and liquor. His deals with Ciroc vodka and De Leon tequila made him hundreds of millions, propelling him into the status of a billionaire mogul. But here's the catch. When you reach this level of power and influence, are you really in control, or are you controlled by the higher powers who put you there? Diddy is now involved in a legal battle with Diageo, the parent company of Ciroc and De Leon, accusing them of racial discrimination and claiming that they didn't treat his brands the same as their other luxury labels. But the timing of this battle is interesting. Could it be that Diddy got too big for the white corporate elites who backed him? Did he challenge the system, and now they're taking him down? This isn't the first time we've seen this play out. Remember Kanye West? When he became too outspoken, too rebellious, he was branded as crazy and torn apart in the media. And what about Michael Jackson? After taking on Sony Music, allegations about him sexually abusing young boys became the primary focus of the media, drowning out his fight against the industry. Do the elites make you, then break you when you no longer play by their rules? It sure seems like a pattern. Epstein, the elite, and the dark web of power. Now, let's shift gears to another key figure who ties into this whole narrative: Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein was a notorious billionaire and convicted sex offender who ran an elite child trafficking ring for the rich and powerful. His first conviction in 2008 was shocking not just because of the charges, but because of how lightly he was punished. Epstein was allowed to leave jail during the day and only returned to his cell to sleep at night. Who signed off on this? Who allowed this man to continue running his operation while supposedly serving time? This wasn't just a judicial error. It was a clear sign of how deep his connections ran. Epstein's second arrest and subsequent suicide are equally suspicious. How does a man who was on suicide watch in one of the most secure prisons in the country manage to hang himself? The answer: he doesn't. The powerful people who visited his private island, the ones whose names were on those flight logs, they didn't want Epstein talking, and so he was silenced. The bigger picture: Pizzagate, Oxfam, and global corruption. Diddy's fall is a story we've seen many times before, but it's important not to get distracted. Diddy might be guilty of many things, but in the grand scheme of things, he's just a small fish in a sea of sharks and killer whales. Look at the Pizzagate scandal, the rumors of an elite child trafficking ring involving some of the most powerful people in the world. While Pizzagate was written off as a conspiracy theory, it raised an important question. Why are so many of these powerful people involved in these kinds of scandals? And what about Oxfam, the international aid organization that was caught exploiting vulnerable people in third world countries? These incidents aren't isolated. They are part of a larger system where the elites protect each other while the rest of us are left in the dark. The real power lies with those who pull the strings behind the scenes, and they'll take down anyone who threatens their control. Was it all worth it? So was it all worth it, Diddy? The billions, the fame, the power, the endless partying, and the control over others? At some point, when you're so deep in the game, you lose sight of what's real and what's not. Diddy had it all, but along the way, he seems to have lost his soul. The abuse, the allegations, the control. What kind of legacy does that leave? And now, with the entire world watching, we're left to wonder, was it all really worth it? Diddy's legacy, once built on music and entrepreneurial success, is now overshadowed by the dark allegations that have followed him throughout his career. He rose to power, but at what cost? The endless partying, the manipulation, the abuse, it all seems to point to a man who lost sight of reality, caught up in a world where power and money became his identity. At the end of the day, the real question is whether Diddy was ever truly in control. The more we dig into these scandals, whether it's the murders of Tupac and Biggie, the alleged abuse of Cassie, or the suspicious death of Kim Porter, the clearer it becomes that Diddy's story is far from unique. He's part of a system where the elites protect each other, and when you no longer play by their rules, they tear you down. We've seen it before with Kanye West, with Michael Jackson, and even in global scandals like Epstein and Pizzagate. The real power doesn't lie in fame or fortune. It lies with those who pull the strings from the shadows. And when you challenge the system, it has a way of making you disappear. Diddy may have had his time in the spotlight, but it seems the higher powers have decided that his time is up. He's not innocent, but he's also not alone. The game is rigged, and in the end, no one, no matter how powerful, can escape the consequences of playing in a world where money, manipulation, and power rule everything. And as the world watches Diddy's empire crumble, we need to ask ourselves, how many more will fall? Because one thing is for sure, the system that made Diddy won't stop at him. The cycle will continue, and the higher powers will always find their next target. Don't get distracted. Diddy may be the latest headline, but he's just another pawn in a much larger, much darker game. But let's not stop there. As more women come forward with allegations against Diddy, it's crucial to take a step back and ask ourselves, how much of this is the truth? Let's be real here. Not every victim is telling the truth. We live in a world where attention, clout, and money are powerful motivators, and in some cases, these allegations can be weaponized for personal gain. Just look at recent headlines. A woman was caught fabricating abuse claims, sending messages to her ex-partner, asking him to lie for her to support her story. When cases like this come to light, it calls into question how many of the other accusations we're hearing today are legitimate. The real victims deserve justice, but false claims muddy the waters and make it harder for true victims to be heard. And what about fact-checking? We're being fed information at lightning speed, and people are quick to believe everything they hear without doing their own research. It seems like we've learned nothing from the manipulation we saw during COVID, where agendas were pushed and fear was used to control the masses. Back then, there was an absence of truth, and we were encouraged to blindly accept whatever narrative was presented to us. Today, the same dynamic is playing out. Agendas are driving the stories we hear about Diddy and others, and people aren't questioning them. We have to ask, who's really behind these stories? Are we just puppets in a larger game, swallowing whatever they feed us without thinking critically? They don't need to unalive us anymore, because we're doing it to ourselves, whether through destructive lifestyles, mental manipulation, or the way we tear each other down. They don't need to tear us down, because we take care of that ourselves. Just look at the music, the movies, the media. We're constantly bombarded with messages that devalue us, especially in the Black community. Diddy might be a monster, let's not forget that, but this isn't just about him. History is real, and while the methods may have changed, the game remains the same. They've gotten better at playing it, but we keep falling into the same traps. The same systems that elevated Diddy to billionaire status are the same ones that are now orchestrating his fall. And while we're focused on Diddy, don't lose sight of the bigger picture. The truth is, it's all manipulation. We're distracted by the sensational stories of men like Diddy, while bigger forces continue to pull the strings behind the scenes. The system hasn't changed, it's just more sophisticated now. They control the narrative, they feed us the stories they want us to focus on, and they make sure we're too busy tearing each other down to notice who's really in charge. Yes, Diddy is far from innocent. But we need to remember that he's not the only monster in this story, and he's certainly not the biggest one. The real power lies with the people who are playing this game better than ever before. So while we're caught up in the latest scandal, don't forget where we came from. And don't forget that nothing's really changed. Like, comment, subscribe for more content. Peace.